Thanks to my pals at Surfshark for sponsoring today's video. See my exclusive deal by clicking the link in the description below. Get yourself award-winning VPN protection now.
Hello guys, and welcome back to PocketRockets. Yes, it's me, Chris, and I'm finally back on the channel doing what I think I do best, which is subjective, and that is car reviews. And today I am back with a bang, and it is this thing, this bright green slab of metal behind me, and that is the new 8th generation, well, 8.5 Ford Fiesta ST. And I'm going to be honest and throw a disclaimer in here. I've driven these on the channel quite a few times, and every time I've had one of these, I haven't really shown it respect. And that's mainly because myself, I own a Mk8.5 ST180, and I just find my car so much more focused, has bags more character, and that engine, my God, that 1.6 EcoBoost engine is mwah. But every time I've had this, I've never really bonded with it, and it's pretty strange because I love a hot hatch, and this is meant to be the best version of the Fiesta ST, more grown up, a better everyday car, and I think that's what spoiled it. But today's video is going to find out whether I actually do truly respect this car, or do I still really prefer my Mk8.5 ST180. Let's go and find out. Now, before we talk about the question in hand, let's talk about some of the changes to this new generation Fiesta. And because it's a facelift, the best place to start, of course, is at the front. And I have to say, I don't know what to say, to be fair. I'm trying to like this front end, and I think that's the problem. I'm trying, because, yeah, I don't know. I've only just gotten over the pre-facelift design, and the fact that Ford have thrown this at us is a bit of a surprise if you ask me. Now, of course, you know the front grille has changed. That's the big area. That's the difference between this and the pre-facelift. And of course, they've done something insane. Oh my God, they've moved the Ford badge from the bumper to the grille itself. And I don't know why. There's no explanation for it. But also, they've changed the lights. The lights are absolutely mega. Not only do they look great, on the road they are fantastic, especially at night. Of course, we're getting earlier days now, and the lights are absolutely unreal, especially when you compare them to my car, my ST180. They're terrible, them lights. But anyway, also they have nicked from the parts bin at the Puma department the front splitter, and I really do like that. It sets off the car apart from that grille. We won't talk about it anymore. But yeah, some angles this car does look good, and I think that's more the credit of the paintwork, the mean green paintwork, which again, you would have seen on the Puma ST, and thankfully Ford have come to their senses and allowed you guys to spec it on your Fiesta ST as well. And yeah, I had someone in my comments when I did the walk around of this car, you can click in the top right hand corner to go and watch that. Someone actually said it looks like a Corsa VXR, and ever since they've said that, I can't get that thought out of my head. And if you don't know what a Corsa VXR looks like, I will put one up on the screen now, and you can have a debate in the comments below to whether you agree to it or not, because I certainly do. I think in some angles it really does resemble it. But anyway, let's go and talk about the other changes on the outside of the car. Oh, old age, old age. Now we've spoken about the front grille, let's talk about the rest of the changes on the outside. And there isn't many. I can list them off by one hand. It's now only an ST3, which means you get a bundle of optional extras as standard. More specifically, the performance pack, which transforms this car. I honestly cannot tell you, if you're an owner of a pre-facelift and you haven't got the performance pack, sell it and get one with a performance pack, because it transforms it and you won't regret it. Of course, you do get the new paintwork, the mean green paintwork, which is taken from the Puma ST. And I have to say, I love it. Despite the looks of this thing, the paintwork alone just makes you forget about it. It's almost like someone's put newspaper over here and sprayed it in green, because all you see is the mean green. You don't see anything else. And that is an optional paintwork, which costs £775. Yes, a lot of money, but worth every penny in my opinion. Now, behind me you can see some extra doors, and unfortunately you can only get this car now in a 5-door configuration, which I think is mad. It's honestly so mad, because you get its bigger brother, the Focus, with a 5-door configuration only. And that's a much bigger car, it's more practical. And if you're someone looking for a car with practicality in mind, just get the Focus, don't even bother looking at this car. But I don't understand why they've taken away the 3-door option. And for some lucky owners that first ordered these facelift cars were able to get them in 3-door, and then all of a sudden Ford pulled the plug for some reason. And I honestly don't know why, and probably will never find out. But yeah, only a 5-door configuration for this car. And lastly, you get some new wheels, which are not new, they're just a different colour. And that is it, guys. That is your bunch. That is the exterior covered. And speaking of my interruption of the interior, let's go and see what that's like, because for the first time, Ford have made a change to the interior. I can't believe it. I can't believe those words came out of my mouth. Ford have done something in the interior, and it's a pretty crazy one, and I like it. So let's go and jump in and have a look at the interior. So here we are in the interior of the Fiesta, and I'll give you a few moments just to spot any changes. Shouldn't take you long. That's the same. The steering wheel's the same. Oh no, on the steering wheel you can now select your sport mode from the steering wheel, as opposed to down here in the center console. Or digital display, but you had that in the pre-facelift. Wireless phone charge in here, it's a good feature. Glove box, yeah, it's the same. Oh, yeah, it's the seats. How are you doing? Wow, these are a big change, aren't they? The focal point of the car, and I have to say, I am so impressed. I love them. They are so good. And Ford claim themselves that these are not only better looking, they're more supportive and more comfortable than ever. And I certainly agree with that statement. They are fab, especially on a commute. Oh, they do wonders for your back. Unfortunately, however, in this car, it doesn't have the winter pack, which means I have no heated seats and no heated steering wheel. Pretty strange, but hey, winter times, I'm gonna probably freeze to death. But yeah, I don't honestly know why they changed these seats from the Recaros, because Ford have been using Recaro seats for ages. And for them to just throw the book out the window and go and design their own, not only is it brave, but it's paid off, I think. And yeah, honestly, if you're not even looking at buying these cars, just come and have a sit in them, because, oh, they're a masterpiece. They are, they honestly are. But there is a drawback to these seats, and that is in the rear. Bear with me, I've got to get out of them. They are a bit of a pain to get out of because of the side bolsters, but nevertheless, I can get over that. They're fantastic. To the rear. Right, let's see what these seats do to the leg room. This is interesting, because this seat is actually set to my height, which is 5'9", I think. I think I'm 5'9". I'll check that. Never. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty surprising that this is actually set to my position, and I don't have a lot of leg room. Yes, they've curved the knee area, so I do get a bit more space there, but for my feet, I can't really stretch them out, and the seat itself is like I'm getting a face-off from a bouncer at a nightclub. It's very in your face, wow. And of course, it disrupts your view out of the front, which for a driver, you're not exactly bothered about what the passenger's doing, but yeah, it is a little bit of a hindrance. Of course, you get the panoramic roof, which for some strange reason is on the press sheet document, and it isn't priced, but on the Ford configurating site, you can't spec a panoramic roof. So I'm confused to whether you can actually spec one and actually get one with your car at time of filming, or Ford have scrapped that as well. But if you can get it, it's a great addition. It does add some lovely natural light into the car, because we are surrounded in black headlining, black seats, black everything, which is crazy because it really does make you feel claustrophobic, especially in the back. But the panoramic roof definitely makes a difference. Of course, if you don't like the sun and you're a recluse, you can shut both sun visors for them. It's split actually, so you can have passenger control and front end cockpit control as well. But yeah, other than that, there isn't really much else to talk about. I really don't understand how people can say, I'm going to open that back up. There you go, let some light in. I don't understand why people think the Puma is more practical, especially inside the car. It's no different. And yeah, it's balmy. I honestly don't understand it. Yes, you get a bigger boot in a Puma, but other than that, that's it. I really don't understand it. And speaking of boot, there's no change there either. Still 292 litres. Plentiful, not market leading or cutting edge, but it's a boot at the end of the day. And that is it. Now let's go and find out what it's like to drive, and can I really answer this question and respect this car? Only way out is this way. Let's go! The 208 GTI is dead. The Renault Clio RS is dead and very much forgotten because a clever Frenchman decided to put a semi-automatic into a hot hatch and modelled it on a fellow Frenchman colleague that likes to take breaks for cheese and wine every 2 minutes because that gearbox was awful. And then we have the Volkswagen Polo GTI, which seems like Volkswagen employed that same guy from Renault to do the gearbox because, again, yes, you guessed it, the Polo only comes with a semi-automatic gearbox. The DSG is no slouch though, but the car itself is probably characterised over a good friend that is known as an accountant because it is boring. It lacks character. But here we are in the Fiesta, and the Fiesta is at the top of the food chain because it's been around the longest, and for very good reason, because the car is well sought after. It corners well, it's got a great 6-speed manual gearbox, the engine's pokey, and everything else about it is a bonus. But I come back to my ST180, the question that we asked at the beginning of this video, and why I have never really been fond of this car, and to be frank, I haven't really respected it that much. And that's because it lacks a few things that the Fiesta that I have doesn't, and that is its driver focusedness. And let's put it into question, we have the new i20N on the market. Yes, it came late to the party, but it sure made an impression. And the time that I had with the i20N, which was in a passenger seat and wasn't for very long on a circuit, more specifically Castle Combe, the car impressed me, and that says a lot from a passenger seat. And the fact that it impressed me so much that it reminded me a lot of my car. And now that I've got this car for a lot longer, a week in fact, I still feel that emptiness. Now don't get me wrong, this car is fantastic. As I said, it does everything pretty well. And there's a reason why these sell like hotcakes, because they are so popular, because they do everything perfectly. But in some instances, it does it too perfectly. Now, it's no wonder the car is a lot more grown up. Of course, it rides a lot better than my ST180. It pulls a lot more responsively than my ST180, and that's thanks to obviously more torque. Now, this car actually has 320 Newton meters of torque, which is a change over the pre-facelift. The pre-facelift car used to have 290 Newton meters. So it's interesting to see that Ford have also changed on the performance side. They've given us a little bit more oomph. Now you may be thinking, well, that's not that much more increase. Well, you seem to forget that that torque would have been spread over the entire curve through the rev range. So in fact, it is a big difference. And being in the car and actually being behind the wheel, it really does feel like there's a difference. I mean, from the lower end, it is unreal. It's ferocious. Of course, it being a 3-cylinder, you do lose the top end quite a bit. And unlike my car, you don't get that. It pulls all the way through strong. Now, that's no bad thing, because this engine, it being a 3-cylinder, yes, I know, you get that 3-cylinder character, that thrum, and it's very hard for me to even attempt to act what it sounds like, because I'll just look like an idiot on camera. But I am gobsmacked still that this engine is still around, because when it first got announced, I really didn't give it any props. But here we are, 4 to 5 years later, and it's still going strong. Now we finally found a B road where we can stretch the little Fiesta's legs. And I have to say, with the engine, it's so peppy. and it gives you so much confidence when you want to throw it round a B road. It's so much fun. Now, let's come back to reality, because one gripe I have with my car, and even this car, is the ride. Now, my car is unbelievably firm. I mean, I've experienced falling down the stairs to be better than jumping in my car sometimes. But this, Ford seems to have improved it very slightly, but only when you're really gunning this car. It seems to float across the road as opposed to find every imperfection, which is good because it inspires confidence when you're pushing hard down this very sketchy single lane where a car could jump out at me at any second. Thankfully it didn't. Whereas when you come to slower speeds, you find that the car becomes bouncy, and I can only experience it as jumping on a pogo and pogoing down the road. I think that would be a better option than being in this car most of the time. And even though when you're pushing at fast speeds, as I said earlier, and it is compliant, when you find a road that's very bumpy and has lots of undulations, you start to become a bit scared, because I got air the other day and I thought I almost cracked the sump because the ride was just too forgiving. Now it comes to the engine. Now, as I said earlier, yes, it's very peppy and we've got a load more torque from the pre-facelift. But when you start pushing the car and you want to go for a corner and lift off the throttle, you do get severe rev hang, and that is common on 3-cylinder engines. Along with it running out of steam higher up in the revs. Now, it's not a problem when you want to change up or down, in fact, but it sort of ruins the character a tiny bit. But it doesn't when you push it. What am I talking about? I'm so conflicted. Now, the seats, we spoke about them earlier, and I met them with high praise pretty much straight away. And that's for a very good reason, because, as I said, they're not only great to look at, but when you are on the move and you are tackling some B roads that, yeah, are not the greatest in terms of road quality, the seats have got your back, quite literally, no pun intended, because they are so supportive. I'd actually argue that they're more supportive than the previous outgoing seats. And not only that, they are just so supple, I feel relaxed. And even if you drive normally, or you drive like an absolute nutter, they reward you the same. It's so surprising. For a car that has a full blown performance seat, that has never been done before, by Ford especially, they've done an absolutely superb job. There's no controversy in this department, not from me anyway. Now, considering this is one of the last hot hatches on the market, Ford have done a wonder, because they've kept the 6-speed manual gearbox. Yes, there's no auto selection from the configurator that you can choose from. No, a manual gearbox, that is it. And although that's good, and I don't want to nitpick it too much, because we're trying to save the manuals here, not get rid of them, which seems to be happening in this day and age, it's far from the best. Now, I've had the experience of trying out many manual gearboxes, and I always take away that the best ever is the Honda Civic Type R. Now, we can't really compare that because it's in a completely different market. Well, it's in a completely different planet, because that car is perfect in every single way. You'd find it very hard to criticize it. But in this, I think, again, because my ST180 has an aftermarket short shifter, the changes are absolutely wondrous. They're a joy. And even Aaron picks it up as soon as he gets in the car every time. No matter how many times he's driven it, he always mentions, this gearbox is mental. The gearbox feel, how it changes. Whereas in this, it feels like you get a little bit lost and you can't find the gear that you want, or you end up going in the wrong gear. Now, it's no slouch, don't get me wrong. It still has a nice feel to it. But when you compare it to my car, I know it's got an aftermarket shifter, as I said, but you straight away, if I own this car, I'd be getting an aftermarket shifter, if you get what I mean. And you shouldn't be having to do that because, as I mentioned earlier, this car is £28,500. £28,500. And you shouldn't be having to go out and buy more things because then you make the car even more expensive. That's not the point. You're meant to buy a car that's pretty much all rounded and ready and good to go. Yes, this is a good to go package. Don't get me wrong, there's so many better things on this car than my ST180, but that's evolution. Like, I have Android Auto, which is an absolute dream. I wish I had it in my car. I have different driving modes. Of course, I'm in sport at the minute, and you can toggle now on the steering wheel, which is even better, because before you had to do it down here, lose concentration, crash into that hedge or that ambulance that just went past me. You've got wireless phone charging. You've got so much more practicality. You really do, in comparison to my car. But as I said, that's with age. You're going to have more mod cons as a newer car. I don't know, guys. Do I really respect this car? Yes and no. I think Ford have gone a little bit too far over the edge with the grown-up status. Don't get me wrong, it appeals to more people, young and old, because you've got the more compliant ride. It's a lot more comfortable when you want to use it for longer distances. I get that, but in the process it's lost some of its driver focusness. And if I hark back to the i20N, let alone my car, that has the qualities that I'm speaking of: the driver focusness, the character. Yes, it has more standard equipment too. As I mentioned earlier on in the interior segment, you get a lot more stuff in the i20N, like customizations of your driving mode, so you can tweak your exhaust note, tweak the differential, lots of more interaction for the driver. Whereas this, you have a gimmick where every time you have to get in the car, you have to change the mode, and it gives you an animation all the time, and it gets a little bit boring. I just want to get in the car, select my custom mode, and off I go, have fun. Don't get me wrong, this offers a lot of fun, but I think nowadays the price, yes, the eye-watering price, really does make it harder to justify this car. But unfortunately, you haven't really got much on this market anyway to choose from. You've either got this, an i20N, or a Polo GTI. And to be fair, the Polo GTI is meh. That's all I can say. Now, don't get me wrong, the Polo GTI has German efficiency. It can get you from A to B in the most comfortable way possible. But when you want to come to a point where you want to have some fun, I don't think the Polo understands that. And what I find amusing, now we're coming to the end of the video and I need to conclude it, is that usually I have my chest high when I review cars and I voice my opinion, and that's final. Whereas for this, I feel bad criticising this car so much, because it's going to get to a point where this could be the last generation of the Fiesta ST, and I'm here sitting here really criticising this car. Yes, I've found good points, but I've also found a fair few bad points as well. But I sat a few months ago with the Mustang Mach-1 that I again got from Ford UK, thanks to them, and I sat there and I said that this could be the last V8 Mustang, and very recently they announced another V8 Mustang, which surprised the entire world considering they're changing their strategy to EVs. And I feel that this could be again the last generation of the Fiesta ST. I don't know what the future holds for this car, and yeah, it just makes me feel very bad that I'm sitting here critiquing it so much, because it is generally a good car. And a lot of people that would spend 28.5 grand speccing this to the hilt would thoroughly enjoy it, because they probably have never enjoyed a Fiesta before, or they've never owned one previously like what I do. So they haven't got the views as such to compare from the past. And as I said, you don't really have much choice anymore. You've either got this or really an i20N. And I hate to say it, I would lean more towards owning an i20N. And that is so bad that's come out of my mouth, because I am a fast Ford fan through and through. So for me to say that, yeah, it's... Why do I do this to myself? Why? Anyway, it's time to end this video and wave farewell once again to the Fiesta ST. I'm pretty sure now I'm not going to get another one, I don't think. But if you are in the market for one, go and have a go. You don't have to just listen to me or any other person that does a video on this car. Go and see for yourself, because all I'm giving is my opinion, really. What more could you want? So, the end is here. Another conflicting ending to another PocketRockets video. That's how I do it, guys. That's how I do it. But yeah, I've had good fun with this car, I have. And although my time is coming up to an end, I will miss it, even though there are things that are missing from this car that are disappointing, to say the least. And the answer to the question, would I have this over my ST? Hell no, my ST is staying. And for very good reason, as I've demonstrated throughout this video. And the one thing that really sticks in my stomach is the price. £28,500, give or take. That is ridiculous. And to most of you watching, that's probably unattainable. And these are meant to be attainable cars. But I'm sorry, Ford, that is way too much money for a car that hasn't really changed that much, especially when you compare it to its rival, the new i20N. That thing is spectacular, and I would love to put this up against it, and maybe in the future I will. But until then, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Please remember to like and subscribe, and also comment on what you think of the new 8.5 Fiesta ST. It'll be very interesting to hear your thoughts. And I hope no one else says it looks like a Corsa VXR, because that definitely lives in my head even to this day. But yes, until next time, I will see you all soon. Goodbye.